Preacher, preach. Every time that I stand here, I ask that you give me the boldness, humility, and understanding that you gave Peter when he declared silver and gold have I none, but such as I have, I give unto you. God, I ask that nothing from Holiness be released, God, but only the words that you have given me. And I know that your word will not return unto you void. In Jesus' name, amen. Well, here we are, January 1 of 2025. Let me do right. I want to thank God for our bishop. If you give our bishop a hand, please. All those in their respective places. I promise you, I'm so nervous. If I start talking more than I should, I may forget to say somebody. But hey, here's one of the first times I get to do this. The Lord has given me a wife. Yes. I told her, ever hear me give that introduction that say you the cream to my coffee, no, you done upset me. I'm lactose intolerant. Cream to my coffee makes my stomach go. But I am grateful for the treasured jewel that God has given me. She is worth every prayer and every moment of fasting that went forward to receive her, and I am grateful. Can't stay there too long. That might turn into another message. Last night, there was a specific level of honesty in the room that I really hope we can continue tonight. The Lord has given me something that was really, really hard to write. And it was hard to write because as I grow in this, I am understanding more and more that the messages truly come to you first. If it's a switch, you get hit first. If it's a weight, you get weighted down first. Whatsoever it is, please don't leave me out here by myself, brother. Stay with me. Whatsoever it is, it comes to you first. And as I was writing this one, I found myself making discoveries. You ever found something about yourself you weren't ready to find yet? Because now that you have the knowledge of it, you have to do something about it. That's what happened here. So I'm hoping that if you will be honest with me, yourself, and God, as He allows us to deliver this word, I hope that you get out of it whatever He desired for you to get out of it. And it starts, this message was not an easy one to deliver because it wasn't the easiest one to write. In order to write it, I had to confront a hidden truth, one that was not spoken, one that was not prayed about, but in this new season in my life, with my mirror ever present, one that I found lurking in my subconscious. I'm about to ask two hard questions, but if you're honest with yourself, perhaps you can experience the change, peace, and sometimes joy that comes with breakthrough. And they are, how many of you have ever felt like a failure? Good. Here's that honesty part. How many of you feel like a failure right now? Okay. 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 Do you know what one of the hardest things for us to reconcile is? It's failure. Failure can cause a range of negative emotions such as shame and sadness and anger and embarrassment and disappointment. These emotions can be painful, and people may try to escape them by avoiding or suppressing them. Failure can significantly impact a person's psyche, causing them to feel feelings of self-doubt, shame, lowered self-esteem, anxiety, and a sense of helplessness, potentially leading, here it is, potentially leading to a distorted perception of their abilities and making them question their self-worth, especially if they view failure as directly linked to their identity. Failure is defined as the lack of success, the omission of an expected or required action, the action or state or not functioning, the act or instance or failing or proving unsuccessful. There are moments in my life right now where I am apprehensive to start or complete tasks due to my own history of failure. It is my sincere hope that at the conclusion of this message, that we will all have the faith to finish. If I were taking a subject this evening, it would be, you have not failed, you are not finished. God said many of us are carrying around the burden of failure unnecessarily. You have not failed. You are not finished. And as a just and righteous God, I cannot give you full credit for incomplete assignments. Okay. So that finds us going to 2 Kings chapter 5, and I'm reading from the Message translation. And it says, Naaman was a general of the army under King Aram. He was important to his master, who held him in highest esteem because it was by him that God had given victory to Aram. A truly great man, but afflicted with a grievous skin disease. So it happened that Aram, on one of his raiding expeditions against Israel, captured a young girl who became maid to Naaman's wife. One day, she said to her mistress, "Oh, if only my master could meet the prophet of Samaria, he would be healed of his skin disease." Naaman went straight to his master and reported the girl from Israel, what the girl from Israel had said. And he said, "Well, go," said the king of Israel. "I will send a letter of introduction to the king of Israel." So he went off, taking with him about 750 pounds of silver and 150 pounds of gold and 10 sets of clothes. Verse 6, Naaman delivered the letter to the king of Israel. The letter read, "When you get this letter, you will know that I've personally sent my servant Naaman to you. Heal him of his skin disease." Verse 7, when the king of Israel read this letter, he was terribly upset. Ripping his robe into pieces, he said, "Am I a God with the power to bring death and life, that I get orders to heal this man from his disease? What's going on here?" The king's trying to pick a fight. That's what, verse 8, Elijah, the man of God, heard what happened, that the king of Israel was so distressed that he had ripped his clothes to shreds, that he sent word to the king. "Why are you so upset ripping your robe like this? Send him to me so that he'll learn that there's a prophet in Israel." So Naaman with his horses and chariots arrived in style and stopped at Elijah's door. Elijah sent out a servant to meet him with a message. "Go to the river Jordan and immerse yourself 7 times. Your skin will be healed, and you will be as good as new. Naaman lost his temper. He spun around and said, I thought he would personally come out and meet me, call on the name of God, wave his hand over the diseased spot, and get rid of the disease. The Damascus River, Abaniah, Paphar are far cleaner than the rivers of Israel. Why not bathe in them? At least I get clean. He stumped off mad as a hornet. Verse 13, his servants caught up with him and said, Father, if the prophet had asked you to do something hard or heroic, wouldn't you have done it? So why not this simple wash and be clean? And so he did it. He went down and immersed himself in the Jordan 7 times, following the orders of the holy man. His skin was healed, and it was like the skin of a little baby. He was good as new. We thank God for the reading of his word. For some of us, the instructions are too simple for us to follow. For some of us, our personal experiences and accomplishments have made us angry at the thought of obedience. But here it is. Be upset, but go and wash. Be confused, but go and wash. Be distraught, but go and wash. Be near someone who has some sense, but go and wash. Wish it could be somewhere else, but go and wash. Wish that the instructions would have come differently, but go and wash. Because nothing happens during the first 6 dips. There is no partial cleansing to let you know that you are on the right path, but go and wash. The man of God has provided clear instructions, and you have not failed, but you're not finished or cleansed on the 6th dip. Go and wash. Okay. Joshua chapter 6. I'm bouncing. Jericho was shut up tight as a drum because of the people of Israel. No one was going in and no one was coming out. God spoke to Joshua, look sharp now. I've already given Jericho to you, along with its king and its elite forces. Here's what you are to do. March around the city, all your soldiers. Circle the city once. Repeat this for 6 days. Have 7 priests carry 7 rams, horns, trumpets in front of the chest. On the 7th day, march around the city 7 times, the priests blowing away at their trumpets, and then a long blast on the ram's horn. When you heard that, all the people are to shout to the top of their lungs. The city will collapse at once. All God's people are to enter, every man straight in. So Joshua, the son of Nun, called the priests and told them, take up the chest of the covenant. 7 priests are to carry them, 7 rams' horns leading the chest of God. Then he told to the people, set out, march around the city. He have the armed guards march before the chest of God. And it happened. Joshua spoke, the people moved. Can we pause there? Joshua spoke, the people moved. Now, I'm not a pastor, but I've had the pleasure of working in close proximity to some. Isn't it amazing that you take time to seek out the man of God? You seek counsel from the man of God. You get instructions from the man of God. But instead of moving, you start murmuring. Instead of acting with quickness, you start asking more questions. Instead of obeying, you start orchestrating ways that you can do everything but what you just heard. But in this one, Joshua spoke and the people moved. Back to the scripture. 7 priests with their 7 ram's horns, trumpets set out before God. Then they blew the trumpets, leading God's chest of the covenant. The armed guard marched ahead of the trumpet blowing priests. The rear guard was marching after the chest, marching and blowing their trumpets. Joshua gave the order to the people, don't shout. In fact, don't even speak. Not so much as a whisper until you hear me say shout, then shout away. He sent the chest of God on its way around the city. It circled once, then came back to the camp and stayed for the night. Joshua was up early the next morning, and the priests took up the chest of God. The 7 priests carrying the 7 ram horns, trumpets, marched before the chest of God, marching and blowing their trumpets, with the armed guard marching before and the rear guard marching after, marching and blowing trumpets. Verse 14, on the second day, they circled the city again once and returned to the camp. They did this 6 days. When the 7th day came, they got up early and marched around the city the same way, but 7 times. Yes, this was the day they marched around the city 7 times. On the 7th time around, the priests blew the horns, and Joshua signaled to the people, shout, God has given us the city. The city and everything in it must be offered up to God, except for Rahab the harlot. She is to live, she and everyone in her house, because she hid the agents we sent. As for you, watch yourselves in the city. Be careful to not covet anything in it, and take nothing that will endanger the camp of Israel and make trouble for everyone. All the silver, all the gold, all the vessels of bronze, all of the iron are holy to the city of God. Put them in God's treasury. The priests blew the trumpets. When the people heard the blast of the trumpet, they gave a thunderous shout. The wall fell at once. The people rushed straight in the city and took it. I find it interesting that so some of us do not pronounce failure upon ourselves when it doesn't happen the first time we do it. Part of the instructions must be for you to say nothing. Because some of us have complaining in our bloodline, but we can follow instructions. In order for God to make success a part of your story, he has to tell you to shut up before you can even get started, because he knows that the walls will not fall on the first day, and the walls will not fall on day 2, and the walls will not fall on day 3, and the walls will not fall on day 4, and the walls will not fall on day 5, and the walls will not fall on day 6. And on day 7, the walls will not fall the first time. And the walls will not fall the second time. And the walls will not fall the third time. And the walls will not fall the fourth time. And the walls will not fall the 5th time. And the walls will not fall the 6th time. But the 7th time, when you have finished where you thought you fell, the walls will come tumbling down. We find ourselves parked in Mark chapter 8. It says they arrived in Bethesda, and some people brought a sightless man and begged Jesus to give him a healing touch. Taking him by the hand, they led him into the village. He spit on the man's eyes and laid his hand on him and asked, "Do you see anything?" He looked up and said, I see men. They look like walking trees. So Jesus laid hands on his eyes again. The man looked hard and realized that he had recovered perfect sight, saw everything in bright 20/20 focus. Jesus sent him straight home, telling him, don't enter the village. The thing here that has always perplexed me is that I know God makes no mistakes. Yet here, God does something twice. Jesus, who is Emmanuel, God with us, has to do something again, but not because he has done something wrong. And not because he has failed, but he has to do something for clarity. I believe that from these references. John 15:1, I am the true vine, and my Father is the husband. Every branch in me that beareth not fruit shall be taken away, and every branch that beareth fruit, he purges it, that it may bring forth more fruit. It's God viewing us as trees. And Psalm 1:1 is the blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sit in the seat of the scornful. His delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law doth he meditate day and night. And he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of the water, that bring forth his fruit in season, and his leaf shall never wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. Once again, it's God viewing us as trees. So this second thing is not because you've done something wrong. That's not why I'm asking you to do it again. Sometimes you are the best person to provide clarity for someone else. So I ask you to do it again because you can do it again. Okay. Some of us are stuck because we are waiting on a new assignment instead of completing the one that you've already been assigned. You are not about to be reassigned. God is not about to say anything new to you. It is not a time for you to go to a new city. It is not a time for you to find a new church. No one is overlooking you or undervaluing the gifts you bring. You have not failed. You simply have not finished. What you need now is faith for the finish. Faith to dip the 7th time when nothing happens on the 6th. Faith to walk around the wall on the 13th time and follow the instructions when nothing happens on the 12 quiet walks. Faith to know that being asked to repeat something doesn't mean that you did it wrong the first time. Sometimes clarity is needed, and you're the vessel by which others can see it more clearly. What you need is faith for the finish. If there was an altar call tonight, it would not be about what you can get. It would be about instead what you can give. This year, the church does not need a group of people who are constantly producing ideas of how much others can work. How come God never gives you an idea, a vision that puts your hand to the plow? If there was an altar call tonight, it would not be about those making a decision to get something, but those making a decision to complete their assignment. God bless you.